Hello and welcome to video lesson 3. I know I said video lesson 2 last week and on the screen it said video lesson 3, but don't worry, my mom went out of her way to text me and let me know that I messed up, like she does with all my mistakes. Just kidding. Okay, so I'm super excited for this video today because this is something I'm just really excited to talk about and to share. Okay, so the topic of this video is basically why I dropped out of grad school to pursue a career in fashion / become a stylist, a personal stylist, and open a copy shop. So I'm excited because this is a question that I get asked a lot and it's kind of annoying, like just answering the same questions over and over again, / probably a question that a lot of people have but maybe just like feel awkward asking, which I understand why, because it's like I do feel awkward when I don't know. It's just because like I know what people are thinking and I don't know, like it makes me feel kind of weird. But so anyway, I am really excited to make a video and like not just talk about why I dropped out of grad school and like what my life is like now and why I made that decision, but also like what pursuing my dreams like has been like. The actual lesson part of this video is gonna be why you should follow your dreams, like how following my dreams has, I don't know, manifested, has become a reality basically. And I'm not gonna get too Tony Robbins on you because this is like my reality. So let's get started. Well, first, I guess I should tell you, if you don't know, if you've been following me for a while, you probably know that my background is in psychology. Wow, that's really annoying. And counseling psychology specifically. So I was in grad school to get my master's to be a therapist, basically, to be a licensed clinical mental health counselor. So I have my undergrad in psychology and I went to Temple University here in Philadelphia to get my master's. The great part of psychology, and I know it's funny because people make jokes all the time, like a psychology degree can't get you a job, blah blah blah, and that is like decently true, because when I tried to get a job after undergrad, going into grad school, it was so hard. I worked in sales. That like goes into my whole story of how a copy shop happened, but yeah, like I couldn't work in anything like psychology related. But I do think that psychology, like having a knowledge of psychology, and I like to think that I have a pretty good knowledge just because I did go to grad school like for a whole year. Like I feel like it transfers over to so many different things in life, especially being a personal stylist. Like I use psychology so much, like I psychoanalyze my clients and they don't even know it, but we're talking about style, confidence, self-esteem versus like, I don't know. I'll get into what I didn't like about the therapist counseling side of psychology in a minute, but yeah. So when I was in undergrad, my thesis and my like my, what's it called, like my, I can't even remember, like, you know when you haven't even thought about or like done things in a while. It hasn't even been that long. I graduated undergrad in 2016. I guess like what my focus was in undergrad was self-esteem studies, so I did all my studies on self-esteem and like self worth and self-image. So as you can imagine, that has been really helpful, like having that kind of real life scientific knowledge of this has like actually really helped me being a personal stylist and kind of like just in life anyway, because I feel like I have a really good grasp on the way people think and the way people view themselves and the way that you want people to view you. And I don't want to make this whole video just talking about my psychological knowledge, so I'm kind of going to get into like the juice of this video. So I dropped out of grad school less than a year ago. I think it was last May. Let's say last May. Yeah, I would say last May. So I went to online classes last January because at that time I was like, I wanted to drop out, but I did not think that I had the guts to do it. So I was like, oh, I'll go online so I feel like better about it. I was just feeling like very crushed. So I was like, I was going to school full time and I was working full time and I was doing other things. And I had already started a coffee shop at that point. Obviously it was like super like low key and like part time, but I was just like doing a lot of things, and I lived in Utah away from all my family and friends and was going through a lot of stuff like personally, mental health wise. Like it was just a lot at the same time where I just kind of like exploded, combusted, and like dropped everything. Last May is when I started a coffee shop. If you knew that or not, May 25th is its actual, well, not when I started a coffee shop, it had been around, but that is when I like founded it, like got a business license and stuff. I think that's the date on my business license. So that's when I went full time. So within all 1 week, I dropped out of grad school, I quit my job, and I started a business all in 1 week. But leaving grad school had been something that was just like a long time coming. So when people ask me about grad school or like we're talking about it or something, they come from like a place of pity, like, oh, like she didn't finish grad school, or like, oh, she dropped out of grad school. But like, do not pity me, because it was a very conscious decision to leave grad school. Like I made that decision because I wanted to leave, not because I was like failing out or like it was too hard or anything. Like I was so bored. Every single class I felt like it was a huge waste of money because I was so bored, and I didn't feel like I was learning anything new that I didn't already know from undergrad. And I had a 4.0, so I wasn't failing out by any means. It was very much like my own decision to leave grad school and to pursue my dreams. The reason I say people kind of like act like they're kind of pitying me when they ask about it, or like, oh, they don't want to ask about it, is because I just come from like a very East Coast culture where like education is everything. And don't get me wrong, like education is so important. I'm so grateful that I have a college degree and that I was even able to go to grad school. And like I feel so blessed, like as a woman, that I live in a time and a place where like I'm encouraged to be educated. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't think education has to be everything. And I mean like a formal education. So on the East Coast, I just feel like formal education, like the more education, the more degrees you have, like the more highly you're esteemed. Like, oh, like if you don't have a master's or a doctorate, it's like you just have undergrad, like you might as well have dropped out of high school. That's just like, I don't know. Those are the vibes I feel. My family was very, very, very against me dropping out of grad school. Like my dad has an MBA, my brother has a master's, he's an architect. My mom went to grad school, but she didn't finish. Ow, that keeps happening. And the way I like to explain it or compare it is like, if you're in med school and you realize while you're in med school you don't want to be a doctor, like you should leave med school. It's a huge waste of time and money. And that's exactly how it was for me, because if you go to get your master's to be a counselor, like that's the only reason you're getting your master's. Bottom line is that I realized within less than a year of grad school that this was not the job I wanted. I could not do this the rest of my life. I didn't even want to do it when I graduated. I didn't even want to graduate because I just knew it wasn't for me. A huge reason that I knew I couldn't do it the rest of my life was because it was so negative. Like you're just surrounded by negativity all the time. Like even if you're not talking with a client who's going through a deep depression or an abusive situation or drugs or anything, like even if you're just studying up on things, like you're learning about negative things. And I just felt so like consumed with unhappy things. And at the beginning of grad school, I knew that, and I really thought that I could handle it. And I mean, I think I could have handled it, but why handle it? Like I don't want to handle life. Like I want it to be happy. And the only thing that makes me like truly, like I'm so passionate about clothes. I have a passion for fashion. That's like so stupid, but whatever. I really do. Like clothes make me high. Like I literally, like my heart beats. Like I have a physical reaction to clothes and to fashion and to shopping, and that's the only thing that makes me feel that way. And like I mentioned, I had already, like a coffee shop had already existed at this point, but last May is when I like actually quit my job and did it full time. And while I was in grad school, my focus or like my demographic that I was going to work with was women. I always have wanted to help women, and so I just realized like I can still do that just in like a very happy, positive, pretty, shiny environment that is fashion. So a huge part was the way that I felt about it personally, just how draining and negative everything was in psychology versus how happy and pretty everything is in fashion. That made me feel so much better, made me feel like I was living like my true authentic self. Is also the fact that, and this isn't everything, but a lot of times when I was sitting super bored in class in grad school, I could not stop thinking about the fact that I would not make a lot of money. Like, I was in grad school, I have a master's, and I wouldn't make a lot of money. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So a huge part of like my decision to kind of like go off on my own and like pursue my dreams is just having an uncapped income. Like, my income is pretty much only dependent on myself, and that is something that's really important to me. So I basically just got to a point where I felt like the only way to like be my authentic, glam, fashion loving self was to just quit everything and do it full time. And that's what I did. And now I get to do exactly what I've always wanted to do, which is not only work in fashion, but help women in such a deep and still really like psychological, self-esteem, self-confidence way, incorporating all the things that I've learned through my education and learned in life and through even all of my psychology jobs working in women's shelters or group homes and everything. I still use that knowledge, but now I just use it in such a positive and happy way. And I'm so grateful that this is my job and that this is my life. And I kind of wanted to wait to make this video. I know that people, when you do crazy things like this, like when you quit your job and you quit school, you quit doing the things that society and that your parents want you to do, and you go off and you do your own thing that you 100% truly believe in, like, people think you're crazy. And I knew that people would think I was crazy.